The MGTOW perspective has fast been gaining ground in the last few years, and many people are chiming in with their opinions on the movement. The fact remains, whether you agree or disagree with men going their own way, this men's movement is radically changing the way the genders interact with each other in the dating market. This is why today, I'd like to take a closer look at how women perceive men going MGTOW and the impact it is having on them as more and more high-value men check out the dating market. Listen, gents, the fact is that high-value men who are realizing the dangers of committing to women are now leaving them high and dry at the end of a relationship, without giving them what women truly and innately desire, which is long-term security. This comes to light in their later years, and it's not long afterwards they realize that the men they want have woken up and are no longer interested in them apart from short-term flings and hookups. What a loss. This has several and far-reaching impacts for both individual women and the society at large, and I will list them here explaining how they relate to the actions that men are taking today. In the last 60 years, the womanist movement has soured relationships between the genders, and the rift created between them is widening every passing year with the rise of dating apps, hookup culture, and men's rights movement spreading the world over. Firstly, it's generally observable that men who go MGTOW are the ones that are aware of the red pill and are getting their lives in order and don't want to engage with women that can sabotage their path to success. This is the fear that drives high-value men away from committing to women. Now, you might say that there are plenty of men to go around, and that a small percentage checking out will hardly have a significant impact. But remember, the female hypergamous nature means that she craves the top few percentile of men, and it just so happens that it is those that are leaving the dating marketplace. So when the top 10% of men are now churning with lower quality men than what otherwise would be available for women to date, it is eventually the female loss being caused by lack of worthwhile men to go around. High-value men quitting will ultimately lead to a vacuum created in the dating market that is hard to fill with lower valuable beta males. This vacuum is dangerous, because these men might still be having intercourse with women and short-term flings, but withhold their commitment. But this black hole that's remaining will be exploited by other men that try to game women and simp for them, exacerbating the problems for the lower echelons of men. Another big downside for women to men going MGTOW is that the society at large will have larger rifts created within it, as the genders move further apart and aren't able to come together to build happy families. Gentlemen, look around you. We already live in one of the most fractioned societies in the world, and our divides run across several identity lines. But if more men start to check out completely, the fact is that it will become more and more difficult for two genders to find common ground and common goals to reconnect and work together. Today, masculinity is derided as being toxic, and men are trying to find a way to forge an identity that complies and confirms with the popular societal narrative. This is the modern male predicament that's making them lose all hope and decide to leave the marketplace completely in an attempt to build and curate their own reality. There is a famous saying in the womanist circles, "A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle." There is a constant point being made that men aren't necessary, that masculinity itself is undesirable and unneeded. Why would men want to be a part of a culture that demeans their existence so frivolously? Why would men want to contribute to a society that doesn't value them? And most importantly, why would men want to dedicate their lives being loyal to ungrateful women that don't value their work, commitment, and sacrifice? They wouldn't. And that's what we're seeing right now. Men in the popular culture and media are representatives like flailing baboons with no sense of direction in life, getting beaten up by female superheroes. I can't help but feel there is something deliberate about this. There seems to be a quiet social movement meant to tear down strong masculinity and replace it with compliant men that don't ask too many questions. This impacts women far and wide. The breakdown of gender norms and the teardown of healthy masculinity in society is starting to overburden women with responsibilities and accountabilities that otherwise would have not. especially when the best men are starting to check out of their relationship dynamic altogether in favor of short-term flings for relationships or living their lives as lone wolves or with fellow male MGTOW peers. As the social narrative continues to push women further at the expense of men, this phenomena will be exacerbated and we will see a far-reaching fallout of these policies and movements. I sense in my interactions with women that they have a collectivist bent to them, and they tend to think in terms of identity and group more than individualism. And this is another factor coming into play in the actions taken by the current femme-centric social order. Men are facing a struggle on multiple fronts, from their internal quarrels with their own selves and natures to the external pressures from the society. Isn't it natural to expect men to eventually reach a boiling point, where they realize the effort they are constantly told to put in is hardly justified by the outcome and reward they get in return? Forget any material gains, the social order today refuses to even acknowledge or be grateful to the men toiling away their lives, being loyal to their women, and working hard to raise their children as responsible adults and worthy citizens of a free state. As more women realize their pool of potential high-value men as dating partners is shrinking fast, there will be a greater fractioning of the genders and more women will be left unmarried in their 30s, 40s, and even their 50s. This is a great tragedy in the long term that many people can fathom. Every society is the result of the bringing up of children in a way that they can become psychologically healthy people that take nations forward. But the world being built today is one where the future generations will consider themselves privileged if they even have a two-parent household to be brought up in. What a tragedy that is! Divorce rates are going through the roof relative to the falling marriage rates, and the family unit is seeing a sharp breakdown. Trust me, gents, anyone that studied evolutionary biology understands one thing. Any society that cannot factor in men's aggression and desire and at the same time safeguard the commitment and resources that women need in pregnancy is a society that is headed for a steep downward spiral. This is what represents the modern Western state. This world being built is one where women have their own set of actions and advice they need to heed. But men, especially younger men, need to be properly guided for this radically different society that they are being raised into. And this is why I created this channel. Resources like this are the holy grail of the modern man. This is your well of knowledge and guidance for you to remain one step ahead of the societal changes happening across the world. So like the video and subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss the gems we drop here. Because understand that if you're not one step ahead of the curve, then you're sliding backwards into the abyss. And that's exactly the place you don't want to be. See you in the next one.